I didn't know what to be able to call this exact episode. It could be You Have to Meet My Friends, because you guys get a chance to meet one of my friends that I've known since I was in, I believe, fifth grade. And it's been amazing to be able to see his journey. He's been a firefighter for over 30 years, in leadership for 20. He's the youngest chief and battalion chief in his area. He was able to be in that at 37 years old. He was the first black firefighter in Lompoc, which is one of the greatest cities in the entire world. It's right there when people go on vacation. There's Maui, and then there's Lompoc. That's what people generally choose, those two. And most people choose Lompoc because we had two Taco Bells at one time. So I want you guys all to know of that. But the reason why I reached out to this man, I've wanted him to be on the podcast for so long. He's meant a lot to me. He's a true avid believer. Also got 4 incredible girls, one of which is up at Cal right now. He's a proud father. But also being a firefighter and what LA is going through right now, I didn't want to go to my TikTok feed. I didn't want to go to my Instagram. What I wanted to do is I wanted to talk to someone who actually knows, who's been in those situations and can give us some real-time, education from an intelligent standpoint and an experience standpoint. But it is my honor, my pleasure, and not only just from that aspect, but just from a man, a father, a friend, which is absolutely incredible. But I'm excited to be able to share with you one of my very good friends, Mr. Diondray Wiley. So why don't we get this party started?
Nothing more on my mind. I got 2 shines, so every day I grind. Work in the morning, work in the evening. We's achieving, cause we believing. It's for certain, we put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting. Right before your eyes, so it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised. Over and over and over again. Make no mistake, we continue to win. Defeat never known, cause I will not lose. They wanna mimic my moves, but can't walk in my shoes.
There's a lot of firsts here, right? So you were the youngest, you were the youngest chief, but also too, you were the first person to wear Reebok pumps in all of Lompoc County. Can you tell me how that feels, Diondray?
Well, well, good afternoon. Yes, I can. That's pretty good. I like it. So growing up, my parents were super tight. I usually just get Pro Keds from Kmart back at the time. And I had an aunt that lives in Los Angeles. She didn't have any children, so she spoiled my brother and I. And when those came out, we were visiting her one weekend. Those came out, and we went to the mall. And I was like, oh, man, I love those. I want to try them out. And sure enough, she bought them for me. My parents were hot about that, too.
They were. How many pounds did they weigh?
Oh, geez. They weren't made for playing basketball, I'll tell you that. They were so bulky and thick. They were like moon boots,
You just told me something which was crazy, DeAndre, that you were the first black firefighter in Lompoc, in the history of Lompoc itself. Am I correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yep.
So it's so incredible. So how long you've been in the in firefighting for over 30 years?
Yes, that's correct.
And leadership for 20.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I started in Lompoc City in 1994. And I'll forever be grateful for the folks there. They gave me a chance to do what I wanted to do. Because it was more than a career, it's a lifestyle. So they gave me that blessing, which I really appreciate. And I left there in 99, and I've been with the Santa Barbara County ever since then.
And so at 37 years old, you became the youngest chief. Was that the youngest chief in Santa Barbara history, or was that?
I want to say in our history, usually it was the older dudes were getting those jobs. I got promoted to captain at 27, so I had 10 years as an officer. So 37, there again, they gave me the opportunity, and I kind of ran with it. So and it's been really good. I've learned a lot about leadership myself and other people, and it's really been a blessing.
Well, I think it's incredible too, because the wealth of relationships and friendships that you have and that we all have, what has that meant to you And is it common with all the other, maybe other friends or people that you've maybe got connected with on the force, when you're that way, are all the rest of the people that you're around have friends since they were fourth, fifth grade?
No, it's funny. And I reflect on all of our relationships with my girls. I tell them that, the relationships that we have, I don't have anyone that close. Now, I have some close coworkers because we've been through things, some near-death experiences, so that's a different type of bond. But as far as with us, you and our other fellas that we've grown up with, there's no bond like that. And I'm sure a quick little story with you. So, my daughter Bryn, her first finished her first semester up at Cal, and she made some friends really quick, but then she started to see that they weren't really true friends. And I told her that, honey, it takes years and years of having a positive relationship to make those types of friends. So what we have, you and I and our other friends, that's pretty remarkable, man. It's not common.
Well, one of the big reasons why I wanted to have you on is because the fires that are happening, you're hearing about this, you're seeing it. I don't watch a lot of news. My wife loves her some TikTok. I believe she's addicted. We're going to send her to a clinic soon for it.
Right.
She tends to go to her room by herself and just scroll through TikTok. But she's been asking me, did you see what's happening in LA? And I've seen pictures, things like that. But I wanted to talk to you because you know what not only the people are going through, but you know what the people who are fighting the fires and having to work through that. Can you take us through some insight as far as what the people are actually dealing with from the firefighter side?
Sure. Yeah. My closest experience would have to be the Thomas Fire. I did probably 20 days there, and this is very reminiscent of that whole scenario. When we're dealing with this type of weather, fuel, and topography with the Santa Ana winds down there, but we have sundowners up here on the Central Coast. It's really long shifts. I mean, all the firefighters, my heart goes out to them, and the folks that lost their lives and those families and lost their homes. Man, it's devastating. But Southern California it's ripe for these types of events when we haven't had rain in since early March. What happens is those fuels, the perennials, the annuals dry up and they're ready to burn. The perennials, the thicker bushes, the coyote brush, they go into a dormant mode. And when they go into a dormant mode, the oils inside of those and the vines and the branches, it's full of oil. And when that stuff gets ignited, man, it's like gasoline. So, and then you throw a 80-mile-an-hour wind on that, it's a blowtorch. And firefighters really have to get people out of the way. It's hard for them to engage in those type of situations.
Is there any way to look at preventing or preventative measures that go in? Will and I were just talking about this. We were just chatting about it,
Yeah.
and in my head I was thinking, I'm not the smartest guy in the entire world, but when I'm thinking about this, a lot of times we're reacting, right? So but is there anything that we could do to prepare or to stop this from happening in the future?
I believe there is. I believe that with like for in our county, for instance, we do a lot of brush clearing, removing a lot of that dangerous vegetation. I think if a lot of those communities up in those foothills and hilly areas, if they had maybe a more aggressive approach to removing that, a lot of people they move up there for a reason. They like the aesthetics and the beauty of it, and I totally get it. But if we could remove a lot of that vegetation and create a mosaic of bushes there but have some areas that are thinned out, that would obviously mitigate having large fires or just some small scale burning in the wintertime. Because what happens when you have the weather, the way the low humidities, high temperatures, the fuels dry, dormant with lots of oils, and topography of hills and an 80-mile-an-hour wind, it's right for those fires to spread. And when one house starts burning, that creates another fuel source for the rest of the homes, and it's like dominoes from there.
What about the things that you see? Like I was talking to Will, and I love this because I believe my phone is listening all the time. And I'm so happy to. This is probably one of your greatest accomplishments that I've ever. I never told you this, but you switched over to an iPhone from an Android, and I just wanted to congratulate you. I wanted to welcome you back into the blue bubble, and out of the green bubble. That helps me a lot. I appreciate it. But Will and I were having this conversation, and it popped up on my phone, and people started to make things political. In my mind, how could a fire be political? But is there any is there any weight to those kind of conversations, or is that just people just yapping?
Honestly, I think people are always looking for a scapegoat, and they're always going to try to pin it on somebody. This situation, I kid you not, it is one of the most dangerous things that firefighters do is fight fire in the interface. Large flames, long periods of working. It's homes on fire, people's cars in the roads, trying to mitigate that. People that won't leave, trying to protect them. I don't think there's a political aspect to it. It's something that Southern or California, period, North too. It's prone to large fires. It has no political bearing in it. I mean, it's something that happens. And if, like I said, if we took an aggressive stance on clearing, that might help some. But if you look even back before California was even really civilized, I mean, there was fires in the landscape, right? And it cleared out a lot of that brush. So by us not doing some of those natural things, we're going to have large fires.
Are they able to would you be able to clear things out when you were talking about it? What would be that answer to be able to clear out some of the vegetation to stop that fuel from actually being there?
And I think I'm almost certain those LA County, LAC, those larger areas, I know they have a vegetation management program. And I think if those guys were able to do what they really want to do, because they're really dialed in on the problems there, if they could, like I said, it doesn't have to be down to bare earth, but just make a mosaic so there was no continuity with the fuels. That's the main thing, breaking the continuity, going from the weeds to the bushes to people's homes to more homes. And more people want to live in that interface area. They want to live out in the woods because it's beautiful out there, it's quiet. But with that comes the responsibility of the homeowner to ensure that the vegetation is, trimmed back, cut down, maintained, so we don't have these large fires.
What do you take us through, like when this stuff starts to happen and you guys get the call, like you're at the station and you get the call? What is the preparation and what is it like to go out to, have to, be on the front lines of these catastrophes?
Right. So for me as a battalion chief, I'm usually going to take 5 engines that have either 3 or 4 our members on them. So I'm taking upwards of, it could be up to 20 people. So our firefighters are always prepared to go when the call comes in. And what happens is, say something happens in Southern California, their bosses will contact our bosses and go, hey, we got this fire going. We may be requesting you through the mutual aid system to come down. We get all tooled up. Our bags are already packed. They call, we head down there. We check in at the command post and they give us an assignment. So our firefighters know what to do immediately. And when it's like this, the management organization may be a little bit loose, so they're trying to figure it out. So for the boots on the ground, we do the best we can with what we got. And for a fire, wind-driven fire like this, it's typically getting people out of the way. It's hard to get a foothold when the wind's 80 miles an hour and there's embers blowing everywhere. So our biggest job is at this point is just life safety, getting people out of the way.
What would make it easier, or not that anything is going to be easier or easy, but what would make the path a little clearer for you guys to be able to do your job from our standpoint? What can we do to be able to help that situation if we're in it?
I think I can speak for us. We have that Ready Set Go program where our area is so prone to wildland fires as much as Southern California is when you see smoke in the air and they make these announcements over the radio that is, think about evacuating. So having a kit ready to go and leading as soon as you can, because what that does is if you wait to the last minute and we start showing up, all of our rigs have to go up the way you're coming down. If a car stalls, That's very problematic. I don't know if you saw the footage from the news where that dozer was pushing all those cars off the road because people just left their cars. They jumped out of their cars and ran away, and the roadway was clogged with numerous vehicles. So one of the fire dozers just pushed those vehicles out of the way to make room for the engines to come through. So I think if people take heed and leave earlier rather than later, it's safer for us and for them.
What's the first thing, like when you get on the scene, what's the first thing that you're doing once you once you get the engine there, the fire's happening, say in this situation,
Yeah.
what's the first thing?
So I usually tell my guys that I let them know that right now we're in a situation where there's not a lot of management. It's just us. It's me. So we're going to do is life safety is always primary, incident stabilization, but we want to do life property. So if we get assigned to an area where there's active fire, we're going to make sure the homes are evacuated and try to mitigate all the homes on the exterior of the area, because once one home goes, they all tend to go. So if we can knock down as much fire as we can on the homes on the perimeter of the community, that'll hopefully save the homes on the interior. But like when I was on the Thomas fire, what happens in these large fires, the power went out. So the power went out means the pumps for the water stops, which means the hydrants are dry. So when the hydrants are dry and we don't have any water tenders, then we can't really engage in a situation like that. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So what do you do in that situation if the power's down, which a lot of times could happen,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
you lose water? What do you
Yep.
do?
Well, then we have to disengage. At that point, we just confirm everyone's out of the area, and we got to just pull back because there's nothing. Once the water in the tanks, our engines are all done. Then we're finished until we get a water tender or the power comes back up. So I heard on the news, I heard some chit chat about there was no water or this and that. And I would say when I was on the Thomas fire, that's what happened. The power went out, the pump stopped, hydrants were dry.
In this situation with the 80-mile-an-hour winds and the winds being so strong that you can't have the air side of it, you
Right.
can't have aircraft in either. What do you do? How do you contain this, or does it just have to run its course?
Well, so what we try to do if we can't stop that fire, obviously. So as that fire front passes through, we do what we call fire following. We'll go back to those areas and put out those small fires that are in people's eaves, that are on their decks, that the cars are burning. That we can do, and that'll help mitigate those homes burning up, which causes more fuel for the fire. But 80-mile-an-hour winds, man, you can't get in front of that. We get on the sides, put out the small fires that we can by fire following, and then when nature decides to stop blowing the wind, then we can engage in those other areas.
Are you bringing in people from other states and other areas into that to bring in as far as help wise, or is it, hey, this is our area, we're responsible for this, and we have to take care of it?
No, you know what? That's a good question. We learned a lot from the Oakland Hills fire. I believe that was in '92, where they had a large fire started up in the hills, and they had a lot of different agencies show up. They had different size tools that didn't fit on the hydrants. It was just chaos, not a calm plan that worked for everybody. So now California's really progressed since there. So if you think about it as when you drop water in the bucket, it creates those eccentric rings, right? So let's say that first drop is LA City or LA County. As those rings come out, they ask for assistance from those units, and then they reach out further and reach out further to the point to where they reach out all across California. Then at some point, those rings may have to go out of state. They may have to go to Nevada, may have to go to Oregon. So as the draw for staff, personal equipment goes to Southern California, we'll reach out to other states in that area to bring resources to come in and cover behind those folks.
What do people not understand when you're coming in? Because obviously, like a family that is about to lose their house, or the house is burning, or it's going, they're not in a state emotionally that they're in. I mean, when I say in their right mind, they're trying to survive. You're there to be able to mitigate a challenge. What do you wish that we knew as the person in that scenario? What do you wish that we knew about what it is that you're coming in to do?
For me and my agency, I wish that those folks would know that we care about you and your photos and your homes and property as much as you do, if not more. It hurts us to lose those properties because it could happen in our neighborhoods, and it does. So when we come from out of town to assist you in or your city or county with any type of major emergency, we pour into it as much as we would for our own families and community, and we won't stop. We will. We are not going to sacrifice our lives, but we will take risk in order to save property and livestock and animals.
Some of our friends are watching right now. You have to say hello to Dave. Dave is on right now. There's a couple others.
What's up?
Dave had a question, Diondray, that can you
Yeah.
talk about the incarcerated helping? I didn't. I saw this question that he put up. I didn't. I'm not unaware of this, but I wanted to. I mean, I wanted to honor him with it.
Okay, so the state of California had a program where they allowed their pretty low level offenders to assist in wildland firefighting, which I think was a great thing. Now, over the years, they've cut back on those crews and they've relied heavily on their own crews and local government crews. So you may see a few out there, but it's not like it was 10 years ago. And I don't know why they stopped those programs. I don't know if it was a funding issue, but you are correct. We would have inmate crews that those guys really worked their tails off. And there was men and women. There was some women inmate crews that work too. So you may see a few there on these incidents now, but man, they're far and few in between these days.
It's interesting that you say it because I just had a guy on. His name is Brandon Glade, and Brandon
Hmm.
Glade was a heroin addict and 3 terms in prison.
Hmm.
During his prison time, he actually went through the fire academy,
Hmm.
got out and started doing that. And then because he was in prison, working out, things like that, he actually became a trainer for some of the top athletes in the world. And that's what he's doing now.
Oh,
But I remember him now saying that while he was in his second
hmm.
or third term, then he was doing that. Um, I
Right.
mean, is it more of a people issue right now, the LA part? Is it a people issue, or is it more of the fact of just like you said, the fuel, the heat, the winds, all those things?
I don't think it's a, so typically what happens at their command posts, they use the incident command system. So basically they have a planning section. So those guys and gals, what they're doing is they're looking for tomorrow, 48 hours, 72 hours out on what their resource needs are going to be. So they're already ordering equipment to get here. So when you have such a large scale incident, it takes time to get the resources and to wrap your mind around all those pieces because you got to think about it. There's the water issue with the power. There's probably some people that lost their lives, unfortunately, and just the sheer devastation over the landscape. It's a huge undertaking, and with right now, I saw there's like 7,500 firefighters there. I bet that gets up to probably 8 or 9,000 at some point. That's a lot of people that need care and feeding as well, right? All their equipment, all their tools, where they're going to bed down at. So it's a huge logistical issue that it can be a challenge for sure.
Let's talk about the bedding down. I didn't even realize that. So when you said that, I was thinking, I, in my head, I was just thinking, you guys are superheroes. You fly in, right? You fly
Yeah,
in.
right,
I
right.
don't know which superhero you would be. May,
I'm gonna be Blade.
you would be which one?
Blade.
Okay, cool. What would be your super here? Like, what's your superpower then?
Oh man, I don't know. I don't know. I think I want Superman's powers. I want all those.
Okay, so you'd be able to like X-ray vision, or not X-ray vision, but you would be able to shoot lasers with your eyes and fly
Yes.
away and stuff like that. In my
Right.
in my head, right? I didn't even think about the bedding down part. Where do you
Right.
stay? Where do the guys stay in this? Like when they come in and you have all these guys and you're working, how many hours are you working to fight a fire?
So typically, when we come initial attack or IA, so the fire broke yesterday, our crews were already on duty. So they came down, fought fire. They could fight fire for 24, 36 hours straight because they have to, right? Because the resources aren't here yet. They're all being ordered. So once they get off, then they usually have a fairgrounds or some or rodeo grounds or a park some places large enough to park all the engines. And with that comes all the porta johns, all the feeding. So it's a really, really big deal logistically to house, almost 8,000, firefighters.
Are you able to, I mean, during those times, Diondray, are you able to sleep? Because if you work 36 hours, but I mean, the adrenaline part of it, all these things, are you even able to fall asleep in that time?
That's a good question. After working a shift like that, I've slept on the concrete next to the engine. You're just so exhausted. Your brain is fried, your body is fried. You're just, those guys could sleep probably on the highway with cars going by. We would never do that, but they're so tired. They just need some place where there's a little bit of quiet, maybe a little bit of shade, and yeah, they'll be bed down for a while for sure.
What could the community do? Like the communities where, say, like the fairgrounds or whatever, where they're converging on, what could the community do that would make a difference for you guys? Would that be, I mean, you were saying you slept on the concrete. I mean, could someone bring you a pillow, or, I mean, could they bring down some food or whatever it is to make sure that you guys are good?
Yeah, so typically we would bring all of our stuff we need to bed down. I'm
Okay.
talking about the most extreme.
Yeah.
We bring our cots and our sleeping bags so we can sleep, but we do have those kind of creature comforts. I would say for food, the incident takes care of us. It'll be a hot dinner, a sack lunch, and then maybe a light breakfast. So I don't think we need food per se. They'll take care of that. I think for me, it's kind of cool to see the kids holding up signs when we go to work and we come off of work. I think that gives us firefighters a little bit of a smile. So I think that's cool.
Now, my wife is a big proponent of this, that there's no such thing as balance in life. But I want to talk about this balance part of it, really, because, like,
Yeah,
honestly, like if you balance, you're going to be horrible in all the things that you do.
right.
But you have to be an EMT. Sometimes you
hmm
have to be a paramedic. Sometimes you
hmm
have to be a firefighter. Other times you have to, make like almost control an event, right? That doesn't have
hmm
anything to do with fire, but have to do
Right.
that. How do you manage that part, and how do you compartmentalize in your brain, like how to be able to step into what role? Because you're having to do them instantly. Am I correct?
You're correct. Yeah. And I don't know that I have a clear answer. I think it's people that have the calling to be in public service. Um, they learn really quickly how to compartmentalize those things. And you said I've done all those things at numerous times in different environments, different times of the day, dealing with people I got to supervise, dealing with people I got to ask to do dangerous things where they could lose their lives. So, and then just the burden of leadership. I believe that you either adapt to it real quick or you just get eaten up by it. So for me, I've been able to, I mean, it's been a blessing. I've been able to compartmentalize those things and not really have any major issues. But what I'm finding now is after my 30 years of doing it, it does start to wear on you. And I can see little glimpses of things that it just tells me, it's almost time for me to hang it up.
When do you think that'll be?
Well, I just turned 50. I got to go till I'm 55. So a little over 4 years, 4.5 years probably.
Okay. Let's talk about a subject that most people don't talk about. I have a lot of friends in the when I said the force earlier, what do you call it? You don't call it the force. That's police. That's Hoffman. Do you call it the force? No, you call it.
Well, yeah, no, that's usually the cops.
What do you call it?
Yeah, I don't, that's a good question.
The
I mean, it's
department.
just
You don't call
the
it the
department. Yeah,
department. You call it the
yeah, yeah,
department.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Are you offended that the village people don't have a fireman in the group?
I never thought. I don't know why. He'd be the coolest one.
I know that's public service. I mean, Hoffman got his representation. Diondray should get his.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to join the tour for one time?
I don't think I got it in me, man. I'm not a good dancer or a good singer.
But let's go to about the department, because I have a lot of friends here, and
Yeah,
they all know you too, and it's so
yeah,
cool because I'll mention I was at my pool here in Carlsbad.
yeah.
You don't live in
Oh, yeah.
like you guys are in Lompoc. I'm at my pool, and a guy says, "Oh, I'm
Yeah,
a firefighter," and I was like, "Oh, my buddy's a
yeah,
firefighter too." And then he was like, "What's your
yeah,
buddy's name?" And I was thinking, "There's no way." I said Diondray
yeah,
Wiley. I swear he tried to buy me a drink at my pool in my neighborhood. There's not even a bar. He was like, I want to buy you a drink. I want to pay your rent. I want to do whatever. So
Right.
it's amazing. But the thing that I found is the issue of PTSD
Yeah.
and the high propensity for suicide
Yeah.
in the department.
Yeah.
How do you deal? Because you're dealing with, I mean, there's one of our friends that has a child that's named after you because you did the jaws of life and took them out of a car.
Right.
And they named their kid after you. But now they're celebrating, like, celebrating Diondray, but you're dealing with the life and death of somebody right in front of you. How do you go home and shut that off?
Yeah, so it's and I'm happy you brought this up. It's the other side of, public safety that you don't see on the TV shows so much. It's not as sexy as the other things. So for me, like I said, I can tell in my life that I love what I do. Don't get me wrong. I love what I do. I love helping people. I love serving. I love that sacrifice, and I'll do that till I'm done. But the baggage of carrying all of that pain and seeing other people suffer, it does take a toll on you. We on the job in the department, we always talk about, how full is your cup. You don't, it's you may not know, but it's filling up, and someday it will overflow. And I've had at least 5 of my coworkers that have committed suicide, and it was devastating. And I wish we could have reached out to them and did something ahead of time. We do look at it. So back in the day when I started, 30 years ago, it was just suck it up, Buttercup. You just keep moving, right? Now we really are looking at the toll it takes on people and their lives and their families. It's funny. I'll share the quick story with you real quick. So I was at the Montecito mudslides, right? A lot of people died. I'll never forget that in my life. But there was a therapist that came in to talk to the entire group. And when she was done, I pulled her aside and I said, "Hey, I'm having a difficult time when I get off work, blending back in with my family when I get home. It feels like there's some kind of a disconnect and I can't figure it out." And this is what she told me. She said, "Well, what it is when you're at work, your brain is operating at such a high level that most civilian people, they're not even doing that. You're planning, scheming, plotting all day, and your brain's at that level. So when you get home, just let your wife know ahead of time, hey, honey, I need like 15 or 20 minutes, walk the dog, go tinker in the garage, and let my brain calm down." And sure enough, I let Andrea know that. So now when I get home, I'll take the dog for a walk, take out the trash. It gives my brain enough time to kind of spool down to where they are, and then that engagement is a lot easier. So that's worked for me, and that was from a therapist, and I would say wholeheartedly it's worked wonder, because my family was hard engaging with them because they were on the same page that I was on.
How do you break through though? Because I mean, literally, you have the most manly job on the planet, right? And it really is. Like, you see a firefighter, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you generally, some couple tattoos. You might have some ones that you regret. I believe you and Will. Will has a great Babe Ruth on his arm.
Yeah,
that
does.
was a very good one. What was yours?
Yeah.
What was yours? The regrettable tattoo that you have?
I don't regret any of mine, man. I don't regret any of mine. I got my first. Will and I got our first tattoos. We're 18 years old. I got mine off, and I worked with your brother at the warehouse. And there was an album called, oh man, what was the name of the group? Like Insane Clown Posse or something. And they had their cover was crazy. So I took that cover to the tattoo artist, and I got this like scary looking clown on my arm. I still have it. I don't regret any of my tattoos, man. They were all awesome.
I think Will regrets the one that looked like a cow. That was it's supposed to be a baseball player. I remember when the first person that asked him, they're like, "Why'd you get a cow?" He was so mad. He was so angry. This question just came in. I want to come back. Actually, I want to ask you this question, but I want to come back to this PTSD and I want to come back to the suicide part, because
Yep.
And well, let's go there first. You're in the manliest profession in the world, really. Like when you think about a firefighter, I mean, there's very few other professions where women want to have a calendar of a man doing their job. There's no accountant calendar. You know what I'm saying? There's no lawyer calendar, Rob. I love you, but there's not. There's not nurses, Andy. There's not people who deal with the city will and logistics. There's not a calendar for you guys. There's a calendar for Diondray, oiled up, in your uniform. But how do you bridge the manly part with sitting down and being like, so how do you feel? That's a tough, because that's not a conversation you have in the station when you guys are all working out, getting ready to go fight a fire, is it?
It's the culture is really changing for the better.
Okay.
Now we do have those conversations. When we get back from a scene, we will do a little check. Hey, how you doing? And for me as a chief officer, it's my responsibility to check in on the folks I supervise directly, because there's young guys in there. It's funny you say this. I was at dinner at one of the stations the other day, and this guy was going to his 29th birthday.
What?
And I was like, man, I've been on the job longer than you've been alive. Yeah, it was one of our firefighter paramedics. So, but the culture is changing. We're trying to make sure that everyone is healthy mentally
Okay.
and physically. Yeah.
What would you say to the wives? Like, because I've been around too, and a lot of my friends, the wives and things like that of firefighters. And obviously you've been married. How many years you been married now?
28.
Congratulations, by the way. Incredible. I mean, it's awesome. Andrea's awesome. You outkicked your coverage too. Just want to let you know that we've all thought that for our whole lives. Andrea, we love you. But what do you say to the wives? How can they, how can they prepare themselves? Because I think a lot of times maybe they don't have the tools or they don't understand that post-traumatic syndrome that a lot of firefighters are dealing with on a day-to-day basis, because you're literally seeing somebody die in front of you. So it's not just the fires. Sometimes it could be a car accident. It could be whatever it is. What do you say to the wives?
I would say that, and the wives of public responder or safety responders, it can be a challenge, but I would say have some patience. Continue to ask questions even though they may not answer truthfully. Have some understanding. I would say give them that, before, when he or she gets home, you rush up to go hug them. Give them about maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes just for their brain to kind of spool down. Give them a little bit of time, and then look for any significant changes. Are they talking different, more quiet? Are they more withdrawn? So look for some of those signs that could be giveaways that something's really going on.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can talk to some of their coworkers, if you have their friend's number, go, hey, how is Joe? Is he acting different at work? This is how he's acting at home. Let someone know, because we have resources that can help the both of you. Don't be quiet about that, but have some patience, some understanding, and keep on asking. Are you okay? What's going on? And hopefully at some point they'll let you know what's really going on.
So Will sent in this question. He wanted to ask about the danger of electric cars and Teslas in fire zones due to lithium batteries. Is that a higher, is there more danger in that? Less danger? Same? Does it make a difference?
I think that those electric cars are, when they catch on fire and have those runaway batteries, I think it's a huge challenge. And we're dealing with it now more and more, because we're seeing more than just Tesla, but other brands. When they have those malfunctions, man, it's a big deal. I mean, it's copious amounts of water to put those things out, and sometimes even if they're not on fire, they could get towed to the wrecking yard and then catch on fire like a week later. So the danger can be trying to cut people out of them, super high voltage running through the cars. That's a challenge. And then the ones that are on fire, putting those fires out can be a significant problem. So
What about in the fire zones right now? Because I mean, a lot of the fire zones that are happening are very, very wealthy areas. A lot of
Yeah,
in wealthy areas, it has a tendency to be a lot more electric, things like that.
sure.
Um, is there more danger in that with these wildfires?
Yes, indeed. I'll reference the Thomas Fire. When we first got there, initial attack. We fought fires in mobile home parks, in multi-home communities, and so you got to figure now with regular homes and bushes burned up. Now we have electric cars and those components. So anytime you're in the interface area, when I say interface, I mean homes butted up against the forest or open land, open space.
Yeah.
Homes are on fire. I know we sent at least 3 people to the hospital, firefighters, for smoke inhalation on the Thomas Fire when I was there. But those guys are facing the same things. I mean, they're fighting fire. A lot of them do have special masks now that help block out some of the particulate. But I would agree, yes. Cars and homes on fire is bad smoke for everybody. So I would stay out of that at all costs.
In these areas, as it starts to spread, how many days has it been going in LA?
Did it start sometime yesterday, right?
I don't know.
I
I
can't
got the text from Will saying, "DeAndre, can you tell us more about this?" I think it was Tuesday. I was in
remember.
Fresno.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, so, and they've had sustained Santa Ana winds over this entire period of time, night and day. And when you have those winds, it doesn't matter if the sun goes down. The humidity was still low, so the fire still raged on. So when you have all those in sync, the weather, hot, dry, low humidity, the fuel, the bushes that are decadent, homes, cars, and the topography, steep slopes and hills. Um, the fire is gonna rage, man. It's gonna spit out embers and start new fires. It's just a problem, and we really can't. Once those get going, it's only the grace of God when it stops. Then we can engage and put it out.
Now, do the guys get any rest in this time, or is it just everyone on at all times all the way through?
No. So what happens is I kept referencing IA. So initial attack. So the
Okay.
fire broke. They're calling resources. Remember the eccentric rings? They call the local
Yeah.
people first, and the people outside. And so initially, crews are coming in and they're going right to work, and they may go right to work for even a whole nother shift, a whole nother day. But right now, our guys they're taking a break, so they'll be off for 24, and then we get on this 24 on, 24 off cycle. So they're going to break for 24 while some crews are on, and then those guys will come off and new guys will come on. So there's continuous coverage. There's never not going to be a time there's not going to be people out there fighting fire. But now after the next couple of days, we're in a spot to where we can rest, refill, fuel up, and then re-engage in the next 24 hours. There's crews always out there.
How can you prepare your mind, DeAndre,
Mm,
for what you're going to go into? So when you started, you were
mm,
19 years old. Am I correct? 19,
yep.
20 years old.
Turn 20. Yep.
Okay. So at that time, if you would have told me at 19 or 20, hey, you need to get prepared for your job, and your job
Mm-hmm.
is most likely, it could result in your death. Most
Mm-hmm.
likely, I would have changed jobs. And I would have asked the people at Kentucky Fried Chicken, why would I risk my life? Like, what's going to happen? Because that's where I was working at the time. Um,
Right.
how do you get yourself prepared for that? Or is that born in? Can you teach it and can you develop it?
It's I, I don't know if you can teach it, but our profession is experience based. So that first year of me on the job, man, I could not sleep at night. On every call, my eyes were big as saucers, and I think it takes certain individuals. I was able at a young age, able to compartmentalize a lot of these things. And I think that's helped me get as far as I could go. If I could share a quick little story. So I was brand new. I'd been on the job for maybe 2 years in Lompoc City. And so after I was off probation already, and when I was on probation, I cooked every single meal. I cleaned up the station for all the other guys. So I was off probation. I remember I was able to sit in the recliner. We were watching Monday Night Football, and we got a call of a lady hung herself in the Lompoc jail. So we responded to the jail, and they had just cut her down. There was blood everywhere because she had a miscarriage at the same time. So I was the firefighter. I was doing all of the taking her vitals, getting the airway in, doing CPR, doing the breathing with the bag. I was doing all that. We loaded her on the gurney. I rode in the ambulance to help the paramedics. We got to the hospital, still doing CPR bagging. We get in there, help her get off the gurney onto the OR or the ER bed. Doctor comes in, they're working on her. They worked for maybe 15, 20 minutes. They had to call it. She didn't survive. So they called it. I remember going back to the station, washing my hands, taking my boots off, sitting back in the chair, and then turning the game on. Like nothing ever happened. So at that point, I knew that something in my brain had changed to where I just came from this really traumatic scene. It was chaos, and I could come right back to the game and like nothing ever happened. That happened early on in my career. So from there, I knew that I could pretty much get through a lot of things that I've seen. But after 30 years, it's starting to take its toll.
Take me into the leadership part, because I was very interested in, first of all, if you could explain the fire triangle. Can you explain
Yeah.
that to the listeners?
Sure. So the fire triangle is weather, fuel, and topography, right? So the weather for us in Southern California right now, I don't know if it's an extreme drought, but we are in a drought. We haven't had rain since March. So all of the annual grasses, those are going to grow and die, right? But the perennials, they go into dormancy, but they're still alive. And what they do as a protective mode is they secrete these oils to help keep them alive over this dormant, period of time. So when the fuels are really dry, they're more susceptible to fire to come through there. And I don't know when the last time there was a fire in that area. I remember when I first got hired, we'd go to Malibu maybe once every other year. So it's been a while. So they had a big fire in that area. So their fuels there could be 25, 30 years old. So you figure as those annuals die off, they just fall to the ground. The perennials lose their leaves and the branches break off. So all that is like kindling on the ground, right? So you've got that, and you have brush that's 10, 15 feet high, full of oil. It's really what we have in Southern California. So that's the fuel part of it, and the homes and cars that when they catch on fire.
Yeah.
So if you look at the topography, the landscape in those mountains, some of those slopes are 20, 30% slope. So fire typically runs faster uphill. So if you think about it, say a fire at the base of the slope. As a fire burns at the base, it heats up and dries out the fuel above that, and then that catches on fire, and then it rolls to the top, and then that's where the wind catches it and throws the embers and start new fires. So we got the weather, hot, dry, humidity in the teens, so really, really dry air, dry fuel, and the topography. And once those get all synced up in line, and with the winds, the wind is king. When the wind is blowing and there's a fire, it's going to be a problem.
So when I learned about the fire triangle, and you could correct me if I'm wrong on this, that it was heat, fuel, and oxygen, right? And
Yeah.
if to be able to stop the fire from happening, you just broke one of the sides. You took the heat
Yes.
out, you took the fuel out, you took the oxygen out.
Yep.
One of those, right?
Yep.
Am I correct on this?
Yep.
So
You're correct.
let's talk about that in terms of leadership, because what I found is a lot of times when, let's go metaphorically, when there's a fire inside of like an organization or team members or anything like that, there's always going to be oxygen, people breathing into it, talking, blah, 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 sometimes right, sometimes wrong. There's going to be fuel that'll be circumstantial, and there'll be heat, which is the friction caused between the people. How do you,
Yes.
have you taken, because you have an extensive education on fire itself, but have you taken the fire part of it and then applied it to leadership? And if so, how?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. I haven't looked at it in that perspective, but it's good. I think, like I said, I've been on the job so long that I've made a ton of mistakes dealing with people when I was young, and I've learned from those mistakes. And then from reading and mentors, I find that my leadership style it's almost like the hot stove theory. When the stove is hot, whoever touches it get burned, even me, right? So if people know the rules and boundaries and they step out of those boundaries, then there has to be not necessarily consequences, but it we they know what's going to happen when they're dealing with me, and they know I follow the same rules too. I say I follow the same rules and policies. Now, with that being said, there are people, and people are very complicated, so I don't treat everybody the same. You know, someone that steps out of bounds over here, I may be more lenient because I know their background, I know them and what they're about. Whereas someone that's a habitual line stepper, they may feel the wrath a little bit more. You know, I tell people that my style is also not everything needs a sledgehammer, right? Sometimes a jeweler's hammer is enough to get people, you know, back on the straight and narrow. So, and I try to be um, not ambiguous with my speech. So you know exactly what I'm telling you, and I want to know exactly what you're doing. So my orders are going to be very, very clear and elementary. And you know exactly what I expect from you, and you know what you're going to see from me. So when it comes to leadership, it's multifaceted. Every situation is different. People are complicated, but I really try to give people patience. I try to give them the what's the word I'm looking for? The benefit of the doubt, and I try to get the facts. You know, I don't want to burn someone to the ground if they don't need to be. And I try to lead through relationships. I find that to be the best way.
What unfair advantage did you have growing up the way that we did? Will and I were just talking about this, where most people didn't grow up with people from all different walks of life, nationalities, belief systems, everything like that. Whereas because of the military, we were almost forced into that, right? So most people,
Yep.
if you look at a neighborhood, say you go to a neighborhood, most of the people in the neighborhood look alike, or they believe
Hmm.
alike, right? That's very,
True. Yep.
we have the tendency as human beings, we gravitate
Hmm.
towards what we're comfortable with. Whereas
Sure.
growing up on Vandenberg Air Force Base, you know, you didn't have that choice, right? So what unfair advantage do you think that you have in leadership, in, dealing in on the department that other people don't have because they didn't grow up in the same situation?
Yeah, you know what? That's a good question. I think that we didn't know it then, but it was really a blessing, man. We didn't know what any of this was back then. You know, we it was just part of our lives. So for me, I'm very accepting and open-minded to people with different lifestyles and belief system. It doesn't faze me one bit. You know, I enjoy that. You know, and you're right about the tribalism part. I think people will gravitate to my shift because they know that one, I'm going to be a strong leader. I care about not just them, but I care about their family, right? Their wives and children. I'm going to make sure that that person, individual, gets home every night. And I'm going to treat them not like everyone else, but I'm going to treat them fairly. You know, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to be on your side, especially when it comes to dealing with the public. I'm always going to fault on the side of our employees, the people I manage or lead. So they know what they're getting when they come to me. I'm not going to be all over the map. I'm going to be even keel, and I'm going to wear it on my sleeve. It's not going to be a surprise.
How do you deal with the fact of like, there's times where people come up against public service but
Hmm.
they just don't understand. I mean, obviously you want to give them the benefit of the doubt, but a lot of times they don't understand. So they'll come up against it saying, oh, you did this or you did that. Whereas they don't understand that your service is so they can live. It's not for your own personal gain.
Right, right. It is true. I come here to sacrifice, not to take anything away. Now, granted, this lifestyle allows me to eat every day and go on vacation, and I appreciate that. But I'm giving you everything I have. You know, I'm going to give whatever it takes to make sure you're safe, or you get pulled out of that fire, or we pull you out of that car, pull you out of whatever the clutches of death you're in. I'm going to make sure that happens. So, and then not everybody understands that. They see the guys and gals at the market, or they see them working out. And I'm saying you don't see them at 2 a.m. when they pulled someone out of a structure fire. You don't see that. You don't see the toll on them it takes when They got to cut some family member out of the car where three people are dead in the back. They don't see someone that got ejected out of the car or a kid that got ejected out of the car. They don't see that. So it's, and that's okay. People are going to have their opinion about it. And I'll brush off the naysayers, but they really wanted to know and wanted to talk to me. I would tell them, I'd go, hey, this is really what it is. You're going to have, I just had hip replacement surgery, right? You're going to have a bad back, bad shoulders, bad knees, a lot of junk in your brain piled up that you can't get rid of. But you're going to make a little bit of dough. You're going to be, comfortable, but there's a lot of baggage that comes with that.
So one of my friends, which this was shocking to me, he's on the department, and he knows you too. Mm-hmm. And I asked him, I said, how much of your time is allocated to actually fighting fires and then other stuff? And the percentage to me was shocking. How mm-hmm. much of that, what's the percentage?
I would say actual going to structure fires in our community, it's really low. I would say maybe 20% of the time, 15. The bulk of everything else is all emergency response. It's a ton of medical aids, rescues, but actual fighting fires, it's probably 20%. That's now. Now, back in the 70s, early 80s, it was significantly higher. That's the bulk of what they did. But I think as our communities become safer, homes are built out of different materials. It's just less. We're just not running on a ton of structure fires. Now, vegetation fires, those seem to be getting worse. I think as the climate changes and the cycles aren't what they used to be, there's less rain, there's less water, it's drier. Those have increased significantly. Our fire seasons we're in January, and they're going to large fires where people got killed and homes got burned down in January.
Wow. What is the fire window? What is that season?
Oh man. So back in the day, it was probably maybe June, July through December. Now it's pretty much all year round. So for us, we just go on a low response, meaning we don't send as much equipment when the tone comes out initially until it's confirmed. And then we have a higher response in those summer months, but it's pretty much all year round. The potential for vegetation fires is pretty much all year round.
Is there anything that, when you were talking about the mosaic part, doing that as far as the different types of vegetation, things like that, are there other things, or do you see anything on the horizon as far as technology? Because Will and I were having this conversation. I said, Will, he was actually getting a little angry with me. Will, I love you, but I think he was mad at me when I was saying these things. Because he's like, what are they going to do? They're going to put a bunch of sprinklers out in the wilderness. And I was like, no, but if you would have told us at Cabrillo High, shout out, if you would have told us at Cabrillo that we'd be walking around with a device in our pocket, that I could text you and say, hey, can you be on my podcast? You could plug it in and be on my podcast and broadcast out to the world. We would have been like, you're crazy. Do you see anything on the horizon that could make a difference, that wet the soil so the fires didn't happen in the first place?
I think it's going to take technology, but also humans to remove a lot of that vegetation, man. I firmly believe in a lot of clearing of some of the vegetation. Like I said, not scorched earth, but some thinning of those areas. I know they're looking at using drones for dropping water in some areas where it's dangerous for people. That's in the forest. But I think, like we talked about the fire triangle, the wildland fire triangle, removing the fuel. If we can keep them small, that's optimal. But if we don't do that and it overgrows, and it takes maintenance, it takes money too, right? It takes crews to go out there and thin those forests, thin around the interface. And I think the public really has to understand that if we can break up that fuel so it's not continuous, that would mitigate a significant part of our large fires. And it goes with logging too in the forest. If they could log more of it or clear more of it, but people want to be able to go out there, and I get it. It's beautiful. I've seen some beautiful forests up and down our coast, Seattle, Oregon. it's beautiful, but if we just thin it out a little bit, I think it would be really good, be really nice.
How did things shift when you became a girl dad? Because you're like, when it's different when you're 20 years old, you're going after it. The adrenaline is like, I want to fight a fire. I remember you getting into it. You're all excited. You were flexing on all of us with the 3000 GT. You know what I'm saying? Like, that car was disco, by the way. I just want to tell you. But you know, I'm just kidding. No, it was cool, man. You were just flexing on all of us. But then comes along, not one daughter, not two daughters, not three daughters, but four daughters. And you're still in this public service.
Yeah.
How did that change?
I think that, I think I was just destined to be a girl dad, man. And I've learned and it's funny because I've learned so much from him. So if you count my wife, that's five girls or five ladies in my house, right? So I've had the opportunity to supervise. When I was an engine captain at one of our stations up north, I had two ladies on my crew. And what I've learned from my girls is that communicating is different and being able to listen is different. So my driver was a guy, and I had two lady firefighters. So my driver, if he's driving too fast, I would go, "Hey, dude, slow down. You're going way too fast," right? And he would just maybe give me a ugly look and slow down. But with them, if I had to do so, I'd be very, I would be very clear in my approach, but it would be a little gentler, you know. And if they came in the room in the morning in the office, I could sense automatically that something was awry. So I'd pull them in and go, "Hey, what's going on today? How was your day home off yesterday?" So I've learned a lot about myself, being a girl dad, and how to communicate with people, not just with ladies, but with people. So they've helped me tremendously.
Speak to two groups. Number one, speak to the firefighters right now that are fighting the fires in LA. What would you have if you had them all in front of you? What would you say to them?
I would let them know that they've done a Herculean effort. Keep up that good work. We can't save all the homes. With the weather, the way it's been with the wind, I want you all to go home to see your families, but we are here to help our neighbors. So do the best you can. Build safety into whatever plan you got. Keep one foot in the black so you're safe. And communicate. If you need something, be very clear in your communications. And no, you've done an outstanding job. It's just we can't save everybody in every house.
What about speaking to the people who are being devastated by the fires, whether it be their houses, their families, their property, whatever it is?
I wouldn't even have the words. I have never been in that position. My heart, I wouldn't even have the words. I mean, I wouldn't even know even where to begin because I've never been in that situation, and I can't even imagine losing, let alone a family member potentially, and their home, their belongings, they just down to ashes. I would just listen. I would let them talk, and I would just listen at that point. Maybe give them a hug or something.
What can we do as a community? Because every one of the people listening in your community, you have a fire department. Yeah. What can we do as a community to contribute to you guys? I wouldn't even say that we could contribute on the level that you contribute to us, but what could we do to contribute to you guys?
I haven't really run up any significant opposition. I've had a few people corner us in the market, and thought the department was buying our food. I explained to them, no, we all chip in for our food. It's all us. I would say just be understanding and know that those ladies and gentlemen they're giving you their all. I mean, mentally, they're giving it to you. And what I really don't expect anything back, to be honest. I don't expect anybody to do anything, just know I gave you my all. Just know that. Does that make sense? I guess. I don't know.
Absolutely. I mean, you said earlier, like the signs, they mean a lot. Yeah. Does it mean a lot for us as parents to bring our kids down to the station to see you guys because our kids go nuts. Like, you guys are superheroes. Yeah. You really are. Yep.
Yep. Well, I would say, yeah, the station, it belongs to the community.
Yeah.
You should go down there and visit those guys and gals, see what they're doing. It belongs to you. It belongs to the taxpayers. It's not mine. I just work there, you know. I live there temporarily, but the station belongs to you. So yeah, bring your kids down, come get a tour. All of our people love doing it. I love to watch our guys do it. I definitely, it helps us connect with the community. When I first started, we used to do hydrant maintenance. So we go out to the hydrants, clean them up, you know, wire brush them, grease them up, and we could talk to the community. I like doing that, but for some reason, we got away from doing that. I think it was a good community outreach where we go talk to people on their front lawns. The kids come look at the engine. You know, that's it. All that stuff belongs to you. I'm just happy to share it.
What is the weirdest request that you got? I'm going to lead with this, though. I want to tell you because I I didn't understand why I didn't have my request fulfilled.
Yeah.
But I was living in Vegas and I had just built a pool.
Yeah.
Well, I happened to be having a party that night, and to fill a pool takes a long time.
Oh my gosh.
So I went down to my local fire department and I said, I know this is probably a silly thing to ask.
Yeah.
But I'm having a party tonight. Could you guys come down and hook the hose up to the fire hydrant and fill my pool? To which they laughed and then didn't do it. Do you think that they should have come? And do you think I was out of line?
You know what? If you invite us to the party, I'll come over there and say hello, and the kids come on the engine. But could you imagine if those guys were filling up your pool and they got a structure fire around the corner? Oh my God, they'd all get fired.
I was I thought I was. I mean, I was reaching. I was wanting to contribute. You know what I mean? Like I was wanting to.
I know. I know. It seems like a simple little task, but so with our jobs comes a little bit of a responsibility, and that's it's a constant state of readiness, meaning that at any given day we got to be able to engage in whatever comes our way. So kudos to those guys. I'm sorry to get your pool filled, but those guys did the right thing.
Hey, Diondray, I started the podcast because my two kids, Maddox and McKenna.
Yeah.
You've met them both. You're an
Yeah.
actual uncle of them both.
Yeah.
I didn't want them to worship idols. I just wanted them to be inspired by iconic people like yourself.
Yeah.
And so what advice would you have for Maddox and McKenna? And if you could use their names and call yourself Uncle Diondray, it would be awesome.
Okay, Maddox and McKenna, this is your uncle, your best uncle, your most bravest uncle, Diondray. You can call me Uncle D. My other nephews, nieces call me that too. I would say always praise the Lord. Make him number one in your life, and you will be successful in anything you do. Listen to your parents. They've been on this earth longer than you. They have and listen to their guidance. You may not like them all the time or get upset. That's okay. Listen to what they have. They have your best interest involved for you. They want you to be better than them. No one else on this planet will ever do that. Three successful things that's helped for me is being patient, good solid relationships, and communicate. If you can do those things, you will be ultra successful. And I say ultra successful does not mean having money or things. It means being satisfied in the life that you've had. Have a relationship with the Lord. Listen to your parents. They've been on this earth longer than you. Have patience, good relationships, and be a good communicator.
Uncle Diondray, I've always been proud to be your friend, man. But this to me, honestly, like I don't get a chance to share this that often with our buddies. And it really means the world to me. It means the world to me that you answered, that we're able to talk about something that is actually happening right now. And our hearts and prayers go out to all the firefighters, anyone who's impacted, not just the firefighters, but anyone who's impacted in that. And but I just want you to know how proud I am to be your friend, man.
Oh, thank you, brother. I appreciate that. And me too. I've seen you come from where you were to where you are now, man. And it is amazing. It's amazing, brother. You are a blessing, touching people's lives. And I think that the gift that you give, it's amazing. Keep on giving it, man. I'm just happy you called. I'm happy to be a part of it.
I appreciate it. Hey, make sure and tell Andrea, because I know we've been talking about it for a while. I want her to be on the podcast because there's some things from a mother's standpoint, not only the wife of a firefighter, but also the mother and the things that you guys have been able to transcend, which has been amazing. But I want to make sure that she's on the podcast too, which I think would be amazing.
Okay, I'll let her know, brother. Just let me know, and she'll be on it.
All right, bro. You're amazing. I love you a bunch, and you're officially off the hot seat. Peace, love, and soul.
All right. I love you, man.
Nothing more on my mind. I got to shine, so every day I grind. Work in the morning, work in the evening. We's achieving, cause we believing. It's for certain we